Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I would say that most Kickstarters are not scams, Jerbrom. I would say what it is it's people who have no development experience, who don't understand what it takes to build a game, and they also don't understand that whatever money you raise on Kickstarter, half of that money is gone. Half of that money is gone immediately because of taxes, Kickstarter fees, bank processing fees, and credit card processing fees. So half of the money that comes through Kickstarter, half of that money is gone. So a big issue is people who don't understand that half your money is gone immediately. The other portion of it is people who don't understand that physical rewards kill you because international shipping costs. Um, Here is a good example because I ordered this book to my homestead here in Mexico. This is a novella from my friend Liam. He runs a YouTube channel called Liam's Lyceum. He's a booktuber. This is his first self-published book. It's a tiny little novella that I bought late last year. It's like 130 pages or whatever. The book itself was only like, I want to say $3 or $4. It cost me $15 to ship this to my homestead from the US to Mexico. So a $4 or $5 ebook that cost $15 to ship. So when I don't have it in front of me. For those of you who own a copy of my my book, Echoes of the Past, that's a big, like, 220,000 word novel. It's huge. Um, it's 30 plus chapters. It's a big book. It weighs like 3 pounds or whatever, right? That book, when it launched, cost $6 to $7 to ship anywhere in the United States. We had users who purchased that book who lived in Australia. It cost me $35 per copy to send it to Australia, right? So the book only cost 20 bucks. It cost almost double that to ship it because of the cost of the book and the cost of shipping to Australia. So the reality is most Kickstarters, people say, "Oh, I'm gonna build an indie game. I've got 3 people. Here's myself, my brother. I did this with, but thankfully I'm gonna give you my example of my wife and my brother and I. We're gonna build a game. There's 3 of us. We're gonna build it for free. We're gonna work on it for sweat equity. Okay, so we're going to do a Kickstarter for $70,000, right? And with that $70,000, we want to be able to pay contractors to do art. We want to be able to ship things and do all that stuff. So $70,000, half of that money is gone immediately because of taxes and processing fees. So we actually have $35,000 left. Now, if I have opted to have any sort of physical items whatsoever, I have to pay for the cost of production for those physical items. So let's say one of the tiers has cloth maps and a physical book. So I have to pay for the cloth maps. Let's say those are $35 a pop to print. I then have to pay for those to be shipped to wherever it is that I'm located so that I can put them in a box and ship them to my people. I then have to pay to get the books printed. Let's say those are $17 a pop to get printed. So now I'm 35 plus 17, I'm $50 or whatever to cost to print a cloth map and a print book. I get those shipped to my location. There's $10 in shipping. I'm now $60 in the hole. Now I have to ship those to the users. And now I need an extra whatever. Suddenly on so if I'm in the hole, let's say conservatively $60 just to print and produce a cloth map and a physical book. $60 just to get it printed and shipped to my location. I then have to pay for the books and the maps to be shipped to the user's location. Now I have to factor that in. So let's say that costs me an average of $30. So that production, just the production and shipping of 2 physical items, a cloth map and a book, is going to cost me $90. No profit. $90. Just to produce and ship to location. So that tier, which includes a book and a cloth map, must be a minimum of $90 just for the production and shipping of those 2 items. Now, I technically would like to make a profit on that, but let's say I don't make any profit. I still need to pay the artist who did the cover art for the book. I need to pay the artist who did the art for the map. So that has to get factored into the cost. So suddenly, let's say that that's whatever it is. Let's say that that tier of an item costs $150 for a person. If they want to back the Kickstarter, it costs them $150. They're going to get a book and a map shipped to them, and we'll also throw in a digital PDF of something. But guess what? Who puts together the PDF? It's probably going to be me or my wife or my brother, and we're spending man hours to produce that. So then we have to go in and say, well, how much is my time worth to do the configuration and the layout and to take all the art and put together the PDF and make sure that the margins work and the bleed works for any sort of, images that we have in there? That's man hours. How much are the man hours worth? Suddenly you start factoring, well, if I want to make $15 an hour or $25 an hour or $35 an hour, this is why most Kickstarters fail. Not because they're scams, but because the people who are putting together these Kickstarters are people with big dreams and zero business experience. Zero experience whatsoever at paying taxes, at managing contractors, at putting together and shipping international products, drop shipping. They don't know any of that stuff. So what happens is somebody will say, I'm going to build a game and I'm going to do it for $75,000. And then they get 3 months into the project and that money is gone. Gone, because they didn't pay attention to taxes, they didn't pay attention to shipping costs, they didn't pay attention to print costs, they didn't pay attention to boxing costs. None of that stuff got factored in, and so they run out of money. And then like, well, fuck, I can't work on this project now because we're out of money, and we actually don't even have the things produced that we promised the people in the first place. So it's very rarely a case of people actually scamming people on a Kickstarter. It's mostly a case of really inexperienced people who have no clue what they're doing, getting this idea in their head and going, oh my God, I'm going to make this thing. And then they hype up 500 other people who are like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. And those 500 people don't have a clue either. And so they back the project thinking that they're actually going to get all these things produced for $75,000. And that's also on the, it's on the backs of the people who are naive enough to back that Kickstarter in the first place. So there are scams for sure, but I would, looking at the facts, we've seen a lot of Kickstarters come and go. Most Kickstarters are not actual scams. They're just ran by completely inept individuals who have no business actually managing a Kickstarter in the first place. They don't know what goes into it. They've never done business before. It's just people who have a dream and they want to get out of their day job and they're like, I fucking hate working at the factory. I want to go build video games, or I want to make a comic book, or I want to, make coffee mugs with, here's the other fun one too, is like, there's a lady on TikTok right now who's making Lord of the Rings coffee mugs and selling them on her Etsy store and through her TikTok and her Instagram. She's making literally their maps of the Lord of the Rings. So it's Middle Earth maps. She's making Middle Earth maps and selling those maps on these handmade coffee mugs. She is going to get slapped with a lawsuit so quickly, because Middle-earth Enterprises, not Middle-earth Enterprises, sorry, the Tolkien Estate. The Tolkien Estate is notorious. As soon as they find someone profiting off of their intellectual property, they slam those people with lawsuits and cease and desists. This is another issue when it comes to Kickstarter, is you get a lot of people who think that it's okay for them to do fan fiction, and they think that it's okay to like do these projects where it's like, I'm gonna do commissioned Star Trek art. So I'm going to make these really cool paintings of like Deep Space Nine and all the different Star Trek ships, and I'm going to sell those paintings on Etsy or Kickstarter or GoFundMe or wherever it is. And then they get hit with a cease and desist after they've already taken money from people. And then the company, Paramount or whoever, the parent company, finds out that this person is producing unlicensed pieces of art that they're not licensed, they're breaking trademark, they're breaking copyright, they're breaking all of these laws. And so you have all these people who back the Kickstarter, and then the person gets hits with the cease and desist. They've already taken all the money, they've already used the money to pay for X, Y, and Z, and they suddenly have to stop production, and they can't give any money back because they don't have any money to give back because they've already used the money for things. So it's, Kickstarter is, it's less an issue of them being scams and more an issue of just inept people who have no business acumen whatsoever, um, trying to do something creative. And there's nothing wrong with trying to do something creative, but if you know, you kind of have no one else to blame but yourself if you go into something like that thinking that you're going to do it without having done any due diligence. A lot of people get way ahead of themselves because they get this idea in their head, and then they get like 50 people who are like, "Oh my God, that's a great idea, let's do it," and they don't think about the legal repercussions. They don't think about shipping, office space, legal fees, licensing fees. If you're using software, there's per seat things that you have to worry about in terms of people using the different pieces of software. Like there's so many, especially with game development. Like you want to use SpeedTree, that's a license. You want to use Unity or Unreal, that's a license. And there's percentages of profits that get taken. You want to publish on GOG, you want to publish on Steam, you want to publish on Epic. Those companies are all going to take a percentage of your pie. Did you factor that percentage of the pie into your Kickstarter fees? Because if you didn't factor that percentage into the pie when you're doing your Kickstarter fees, and you fuck yourself because now there's a 12% fee or a 30% fee or whatever those licensing fees are to those various companies. And no one ever thinks about that because they're like, oh my God, I've got this really cool idea for an independent MMORPG. Let's go build this game for $70,000. That'll get clipped on YouTube, by the way, guys. That'll be a fun one.